We start with our Newsmaker segment and focus on the gubernatorial race in Kansas as primary election day, August 7th, approaches. Joining me now is Democratic hopeful Josh Swatey, a former state legislator and former state agriculture secretary. Mr. Swatey, welcome to Ruckus. Thanks for coming in.
Thank you for having me.
You've been away from government service for a while. What has tempted you back in this year?
You know, I had the opportunity to run the State Department of Agriculture, which was a real honor, and it gave me a great sense of the dedicated civil servants that helped make our government work every single day. And so for the last 8 years as I've been away, I've watched that be dismantled, and guess what? No surprise, Kansans are really feeling it. Usually when they start feeling government's not functioning well, it's largely around K-12 education, but now they see it in a new headline almost every day. Incidents at prisons, lost children in the Department of Children and Families, and that stems largely from the diaspora of quality state civil servants. And so I said, we've got to put this back together. We have to fix the state, and felt like I could do it.
And you were agriculture secretary because you have a rich background in farming, and you still are involved, are you not?
I do. It's funny you use the word rich. I'm not sure right now any of us have a rich background in farming.
A lot better than a poor background.
No, I understand what you were saying. Yes, my family's been farming in central Kansas since the 1860s, and my wife and I actually, as we stepped away from public service, began to build our own farm there 8 years ago. And it's been a real struggle, like other Kansas farmers around the state, but one that we love, and it's certainly something that we want to leave as a legacy to our children.
This is going to be the first competitive Democratic primary for governor since the late 1990s. Is that healthy for the party or unhealthy for the party?
I think it's very healthy for the party. However, the party has to kind of relearn that muscle memory. Republicans are used to paying attention at the end of summer and getting out and voting in the primary. Democrats, we're having to say, hey, don't forget, it's not just the general election this year. You need to be paying attention. There's a lot of important races coming up in just a couple of weeks.
Who would you prefer to run against if you're the nominee, Kobach or Collier?
You know, when we got into this race, we didn't know who was going to run.
And we still don't know.
And we still don't know who's going to
win.
We always felt that we were the most compelling Democratic ticket. That being said, I think for sure my ag ties in western Kansas would suit me very well if it was, say, Secretary Kobach. And we saw the Senate President yesterday endorse Secretary Kobach. It feels like he is trending toward being the nominee, but we just never know until that primary happens.
Quickly, what would your 3 top priorities as governor be?
I think, first of all, we have to stabilize the state's finances for all state agencies. Second, we have to take some proactive actions to improve the overall perception of the state. I've talked about reinstating the civil protections for LGBT state employees on day one. One, because it's the right thing to do, but two, because it sends an immediate message that the open Kansas of our history is back. And then 3, I think that we have to sort of launch this idea of next generation of leadership for the state of Kansas. Kansas is ready for it. Kansans want it. But that means drawing in a broader, more diverse spectrum of Kansans to help run state government as we rebuild these agencies. It's going to be crucial.
Have any desire for an income tax increase or a tax increase of any sort?
I think that we probably did, and I wasn't in the legislature, but I think the legislature probably visited its largest tax increase for a long time in this last session. We won't revisit it again for a while, and if we do, my biggest push as governor will be to either reduce or eliminate the sales tax on food. We're the highest in the country.
Of course, whether they face it again or not may depend on the state Supreme Court and its positions on education.
I think so, and I certainly don't speak for the state Supreme Court, but I think that they're probably looking for another $100 or $200 million, that cost of living adjustment that they asked for, and we actually have enough coming into the state right now to handle that over the next 2 years. I think we'll be all right.
Apparently, your biggest problem with many Democrats is your position on abortion. You are pro-life, not pro-choice. Is that a fair reading of your position?
That's probably not a fair reading of my position. I did vote that way when I was in the House.
Well, how would you define your position?
I've told people now on the campaign trail I'd veto any new restrictions on women's reproductive rights. And also, I think it's important to look at my overall spectrum over the last 10 years. I marry a strong, independent woman and now have placed a strong, independent woman who has control over her own body on my ticket. I think that we represent that kind of balance that exists all across Kansas. We kind of represent the middle of Kansas.
That strong, independent woman you married as a lobbyist for the city of Wichita and perhaps for others, would she still lobby if you were governor?
I certainly don't ever tell my wife at all what she can do. But of course, if we were to win the gubernatorial race, there'd be some dramatic decisions and changes in our lives.
Well, certainly she would lobby you.
I think that one thing I love about Kimberly, and she's actually a Johnson County native, has grown up watching Ruckus, is that she is very intelligent, runs an incredible business that she built on her own, and largely a good old boys network. And so she, as many people know on the campaign trail, brings as much energy and vitality as anybody else.
Got to stop you there. Thanks very much for coming in. That is Democratic gubernatorial hopeful Josh Swatty.